students. Today we are going to discuss the lesson number 6 of your book, My Childhood. We have already discussed this chapter in the class, so I'm making a video for your revision. This chapter has been taken from the autobiographical novel of APJ Abdul Kalam, which is known as Wings of Fire. As we have discussed in the class, some of you might have read also the novel. I am reading the explanation line by line, showing you some pictures so that it becomes very interesting. He has written this novel on his own. It is an autobiography. He says, I was born into a middle class Tamil family in the island town of Rameshwaram. So Rameshwaram, as we can see on the map, Rameshwaram is a coastal town where APJ Abdul Kalam was born in the erstwhile earlier Madras state, earlier known as Madras state, whereas Rameshwaram today is a part of Tamil Nadu. My father, Jainul Abdin. Now, if you know, Rameshwaram is famous for its temples. My father, Jainul Abdin, had neither much formal education nor much wealth. Despite these disadvantages, he possessed great innate wisdom and a true generosity of spirit. The father is shown to be very wise in terms of inborn wisdom, and he was very generous. He was very helpful to others. He had an ideal helpmate. A helpmate will be a person who is helping. In my mother, Ashi Amma. The name of the father is Jainul Abdin and the name of the mother is Ashi Amma. I do not recall the exact number of people she fed every day, but I am quite certain that far more outsiders ate with us than all the family members put together. That means there were many people who used to come every day and they used to have food at their home, and their house used to be a continuous place for people to visit. So imagine a lady working throughout the day and then feeding so many people. This is one of the pictures of his childhood. He is the father. He was an imam and also boat owner. If you see the novel, Ashi Amma is here, and this youngest child is APJ Abdul Kalam. So this is a picture which is taken from his novel itself, that is Wing of Fire. He says ahead in the second para, I was one of many children, a short boy with rather undistinguished looks. He was not very good looking, as he says. Okay, he says that he was having undistinguished looks, born to tall and handsome parents. We lived in our ancestral is belonging to your forefathers, your grandfather house, which was built in the middle of the 19th century. So if you ever get a chance to visit Rameshwaram, this was the house earlier where he is talking about, but today this has been renovated by the government, and this looks like this. This is the house of Kalam today. Okay, it was a fairly large pakka house made of limestone and brick, as are many structures in South India, on the Moss Street in Rameshwaram. My austere father, austere means strict, severe, father used to avoid all inessential comforts and luxuries. However, all necessities were provided for in terms of food, medicine or clothes. So all the basic amenities were provided, all the inessential things were not provided to him. In fact, I would say mine was a very secure childhood, both materially and emotionally. So he says that he was taken care of all the materials that he needed, and emotions were also taken care of. Whatever he wanted, his parents provided the basic amenities, food, medicine, clothes, education, but inessential comforts and luxuries were avoided. Now this is the third paragraph. It talks about the Second World War. The Second World War, as we all know, the Second World War was happening, and then India got independent after that, broke out in 1939 when I was 8 years old. Now APJ Abdul Kalam was born on 15th of October 1931, as I have discussed in the class earlier also. For reasons I have never been able to understand, a sudden demand for tamarind seeds erupted in the market. So there was a demand for these seeds of tamarind, and South Indian houses, they use a lot of spices. So tamarinds used to be a common commodity at the home, and the seeds are left behind. I used to collect the seeds and sell them to a provision shop on Moss Street. A provision shop is a kirana store, like we see. So he used to collect them and sell them there. A day's collection would fetch me the princely sum of 1 Anna, that is the currency, the old currency. My brother-in-law Jalaluddin would tell me stories about the World War, which I would later attempt to trace in the headlines in Dinamani. So Dinamani, one of the newspapers of South India, this is their logo. This is Dinamani. Okay, so it starts with the word din. In Hindi it means day. Okay, our area being isolated was completely unaffected by the war because they were on the coastal town. Their area was unaffected by the war, but soon India was forced to join the Allied forces, as you might be knowing in history, and something like a state of emergency was declared. State of emergency is when you don't move out of the house, when commodities are not available, when things stop being happening at the normal pace. Something like that happened, and this we are talking about the year 1939. The newspaper now had to be bundled and thrown out from the moving train on the Rameshwaram road between Rameshwaram and Dhanuskodi. So the newspapers, because Rameshwaram was a stoppage, now Rameshwaram, the train is not going to stop. Dhanuskodi, as you can see, is far away. So the train which is moving from here, the bundles have to be thrown out. Okay, so they had to throw out the bundles. That forced my cousin Samsuddin, who distributed newspapers in Rameshwaram, to look for a helping hand to catch the bundles, and as if naturally I filled the slot. So APJ Abdul Kalam started helping his cousin Samsuddin in catching the newspapers from a moving train and also distributing them. Samsuddin helped me earn my first wages. Wages means salary. So it was the first time in the life of APJ Abdul Kalam that he has earned some money. Half a century later, after 50 years of this incident, I can still feel the surge of pride, the extreme happiness of pride in earning my own money for the first time. So he was very happy because he had earned some money. Okay, now we talk about his friends. Every child is born with some inherited characteristics into a specific socio-economic and emotional environment and trained in certain ways by figures of authority. Socio-economic refers to the background. So socio means society, your caste, your religion. Economic means whether you're born into a middle class or high class family, what is the earning of the family, how the family eats, what kind of luxuries are provided to the family. Emotional environment refers to whether it's a nuclear family, joint family, whether how the people treat others. Trained in certain ways by figures of authority. Figures of authority are people who control or who command your house, maybe grandparents, teachers, peers, relatives, like that. He says that he inherited honesty and self-discipline from my father, and from my mother I inherited faith in goodness and deep kindness, and so did my three brothers and sisters, as we have seen in the picture. So here he is talking about what he got from his parents. He has taken away honesty and self-discipline from the father and goodness and kindness from his mother. I had three close friends in my childhood. The names are very important. I told you to mark in the book: Ramanan Shastri, Aravindam and Shiv Prakashan. All these boys were from Orthodox Hindu Brahman family. Orthodox means conservative or following the old traditional norms. They were all from Hindu Brahman families because they are living in Rameshwaram, and Rameshwaram, as you know, it is basically a Hindu temple there. It is believed that Lord Ram, when he was going to fetch Sita ji to Lanka, he himself made the Shivling there and he started worshipping. So it is having religious sentiments, and these boys, as you can see the name Ramanan Shastri, Aravindam, Shiv Prakashan, they were Hindu Brahman and they were from Orthodox family. As children, none of us ever felt any difference among ourselves because of our religious differences and upbringing. Because of the upbringing, how they were being brought up and religious differences, they never felt that there was any difference between them. All the four of them were very good friends. In fact, Ramanan Shastri was the son of Pakshi Lakshman Shastri, the high priest of the Rameshwaram temple. And you might be also knowing, as I told you, that Lakshman Shastri was a very good friend of APJ Abdul Kalam's father as well, and his father was an imam and this person was a priest. So you see the Hindu-Muslim kind of unity they had. In India we say unity in diversity, and this novel is a perfect example how people were living together and they were very secular. Later, he took over the priesthood of the Rameshwaram temple from his father. So, Ramanan Shastri became the priest. Aravindam went into the business of arranging transport for visiting pilgrims. As in South India, many temples are there. People go to visit the pilgrims, these temples. So, we need a business of transportation. So, Aravindam started that, and Shiv Prakashan became a catering contractor for the Southern Railways. So, he started supplying food for the Southern Railways. During the annual Sri Ram Sita Kalyanam, Kalyanam means marriage, that is maybe during the time of Dashera when we have this Ram Sita Vivaha ceremony, our family used to arrange boats with a special platform for carrying the idols of the lords from the temple to the marriage site. So the family of APJ Abdul Kalam used to arrange the boats, and they being Muslims, they used to help in carrying the idols on the platforms to the marriage site, the place situated in the middle of a pond called Ram Tirtha, which was near a house. So the name of the pond or name of the temple is Ram Tirtha. Events from Ramayana and the life of Prophet were bedtime stories my mother and grandmother would tell the children in our family. So you see how they were brought up. The events from the Ramayana and the events from the life of Prophet Muhammad were the bedtime stories these children used to get. So this is one of the pictures in your book. That is how the family used to arrange the boats for them. The Ram Sita Kalyanam, as you can see in the picture. Okay. One day when I was in the 5th standard at Rameshwaram Elementary School, a new teacher came to our class. I used to wear a cap which marked me as a Muslim, and I always sat in the front row next to Ramanan Shastri. So there was, when he was in the elementary school, a school up till class 5, and when he was in class 5, he was sitting next to his best friend Ramanan Shastri, and a new teacher had come. Ramanan Shastri, as you can see in the picture, this is Ramanan Shastri, this is APJ Abdul Kalam, and this is the new teacher who has come in. So the sacred thread is the Genevieve that we are talking about. The new teacher could not stomach a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. In accordance with the social ranking, as the new teacher saw it, I was asked to go and sit at the back bench. So you see the kind of difference that took place, that the teacher asked APJ Abdul Kalam that you should go and sit at the back because you cannot sit with a Hindu. I felt very sad, and so did Ramanan Shastri. He looked utterly downcast, extremely unhappy. As I shifted to my seat in the last row, the image of him weeping, crying, when I shifted to the last row, left a lasting impression on me. And as we say, children are like wet clay, whatever falls on them makes an impression. So here also there was an impression created that APJ Abdul Kalam was asked to go and sit at the last bench, and Ramanan Shastri, being his best friend, didn't want the departure. After school, we went home and told our respective parents about the incident, because as young children, they went home and they told everything to their parents. Lakshman Shastri, the father of Ramanan Shastri, called the teacher. He asked him to come, and in our presence, when these boys were standing there, told the teacher that he should not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of innocent children. He warned the teacher that you are not supposed to spread the social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of these children. He straight away asked the teacher to either apologize, say sorry, or quit the school and the island. Not only did the teacher regret his behavior, the teacher was feeling very sorry for his behavior, but the strong sense of conviction Lakshman Shastri conveyed ultimately reformed the young teacher. So this is one of the very important incident when the teacher was reprimanded, or when the teacher was scolded, and the teacher realized his mistake and he changed his ways. Okay, so this is one of the pictures of Pakshi Lakshman Shastri, the father of Ramanan Shastri, the high priest of the temple. Okay, on the whole, the small society of Rameshwaram was very rigid in terms of the separation of different social groups. There were social groups, there were people, Hindus and Muslims, living in different places, but then there were a lot of harmony that was there and people were living together. However, my science teacher Siva Subramaniam Iyer, I told you to mark the name, and this is important. One incident we had of the other teacher, new teacher. This is the science teacher. Maybe when APJ Abdul Kalam had grown up, this incident had taken place in class 6th, 7th or 8th, whatever. Though an orthodox Brahman with a very conservative, very narrow-minded wife, was something of a rebel. A rebel is a person who wants to bring a change by the action of violence. He did his best to break social barriers so that people from varying backgrounds could mingle together. So, but here the teacher was a rebel, but still he was not fighting anybody. He was fighting the social system. He wanted to bring changes, and he wanted people from different backgrounds to mix together. He used to spend hours with me and would say, Kalam, I want you to develop so that you are on par at the same level with the highly educated people of the big cities. He wanted APJ Abdul Kalam to develop, and he was a science teacher. One day he invited me to his home for a meal. His wife was horrified, was shocked at the idea of a Muslim boy being invited to dine in a ritually pure kitchen. Because she was a conservative wife of a science teacher, she had a kitchen which was like a temple to her, and she did not want any Muslim to enter there. She refused to serve me in a kitchen. Siva Subramaniam Iyer was not perturbed. That means not disturbed. Perturbed means basically unsettled, but the teacher did not show any emotions, nor did he get angry with his wife, but instead served me with his own hands and sat down beside me to eat his meal. So the teacher was very sensible. He started eating with the boy, APJ Abdul Kalam. His wife watched us from behind the kitchen door. I wondered whether she had observed any difference in the way I ate rice, drank water, or cleaned the floor after the meal. So he was eating like a normal human being. When I was leaving his house, Siva Subramaniam Iyer invited me to join him for dinner again the next weekend. So the teacher asked him again to come. Observing my hesitation because he didn't want to come again, because he knew that sir's wife will not be very happy. He told me not to get upset, saying, once you decide to change the system, such problems have to be confronted. Confronted when you have to face something, when you have to mirror something. So he says, when you want to change something, you have to face such problems. When I visited his house the next week, Siva Subramaniam Iyer's wife took me inside her kitchen and served me food with her own hands. So you see, there was a change that took place, and this is the picture from your book itself. So the wife of the teacher is herself serving food to APJ Abdul Kalam. So this was a kind of a change. Two kind of changes took place. One is the new teacher who was reformed, and secondly, Siva Subramaniam Iyer, the science teacher, his wife was reformed. Then the Second World War was over. We are talking about the year 1945, and India's freedom was imminent. Clear, India's freedom was imminent. We knew that after 1945 that India was about to get freedom. Indians will build their own India, declared Gandhiji. And as you know, Gandhiji was a very prominent figure in the freedom fighting struggle of India. The whole country was filled with an unprecedented optimism. Optimism is being positive, unprecedented, something that is coming for the first time. So everybody was enjoying themselves. I asked my father to permission to leave Rameshwaram and study at the district headquarters in Ramananthapuram. Because Rameshwaram was a small town, he wanted to go from Rameshwaram to Ramananthapuram, which was the district headquarters, so that he can complete his education, further studies over here. This is the map I have shown you. And last but not the least, we have this paragraph. He told me as if thinking aloud. He said, Abul, I know you have to go to grow. Does the seagull not fly across the sun alone and without a nest? So he gives a very sensible example. He gives the example of a seagull, a bird. He says, does the bird not fly across the sun? Seagull is a big white color bird, alone and without a nest. He quoted Khalil Gibran, to my hesitant mother. He is Khalil Gibran, a very famous American philosopher, writer, English writer, in American Lebanese writer. Hesitant mother was not very willing to send the child. He said very significant lines. He said, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. Your sons and daughters have their own life, and their life is longing for them to become something. They come through you, but not from you. They come through you. They are born through you, but not from you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts. You can give them the love, you can give them the mind, but you cannot tell them what to think, how to think, okay? For they have their own thoughts. So this is what APJ Abdul Kalam's father, who's very wise, says here, okay? And after this are the notes. This is one of the pictures. APJ Abdul Kalam is known as the Missile Man of India. I have already shared the notes with you all. In case of any doubts, you please contact me. I hope this video was helpful.